In this episode, we take a look at the Series 3 station wagon in beige. We also take a look at it in pale blue. And finally, we take a look at the dark green version. The beige version only has two versions that we're currently aware of. However, they don't crop up that often, and trying to spot what differences these have is rather difficult. One thing to be aware of is the white roof versus the beige roof. Now the white ones, if they've been out there some time, do tend to yellow, and it can be quite difficult if they're in isolation deciding whether it is actually a beige or a white roof. The first version is the original Hongwell version, and this is a really nice model. It features the white roof with nicely detailed headlights, vent panel, Type B wheels, and all of these run with the WXX registration. At the rear, they all seem to have this three-window arrangement where they're all painted. I've not found any that have been in the clear, so I assume this is across the entire range. The other thing to take note is the tow hitch at the bottom. In this colour, we've only found them with an actual tow hitch, but there are some variants out there that have no tow hitch, it's just a straight spike. The base on these models is basically the same as all the other body styles we've seen, with the one exception that the rivet at the rear, or in this case a screw, is mounted at the centre and to the rear and partially encroaches into the fuel tank. The second version in this colour scheme is basically the Oxford diecast re-release, and it features a beige roof, which is basically the same shade as the body on this one. And also, as this came as part of a 3-car set, and each of the models in that set had a very simplified headlamp arrangement, i.e. the bezel around the main light unit was not painted and remained body colour. It remains to be seen whether, when this model gets released as a standalone model, if it indeed does, whether it reverts back to having the more detailed version. We now move to the base of this model, and here we have a bit of a mystery. Where the Hongwell branding plate used to be, as you can see, this has been overprinted and rather crudely. Now, this 3-car set was branded as Cararama, and short of buying a load of them, which would be an expensive exercise, perhaps you guys who've got some of these could take a look at yours. Was this a case of using up existing stock until the Hongwell bases were depleted and then they reverted to the plain ones, or is it a case of every one of these had this anomaly? Now, as far as I'm aware, the Oxford company was working with Hongwell Cararama for some time before they actually started releasing this range under their own branding, as it were. So is this possibly a bit of a crossover phase? Some of the later Oxford releases in this particular casting seem to have gained the Hongwell branding again, which is quite odd. The difficulty is dating when a particular model was actually released, and this is where it becomes basically a nightmare just trying to pick your way through what is fact and what isn't. But again, over to you guys. You may have some information. If you have, please tell. Right, we move on to the next one now, and that is the pale blue version. Now, of the three that are blue, this is the most easy one to spot. The other two tend to merge when on digital cameras, etc. So this one's quite an easy one. Now, there are two known different versions of this one, and as you can see, again, it's split between the original version and the later Oxford release. Now, the tricky thing about this particular one, but I dare say it's happened on some of the others, the first one has a white roof, yet in photographs it comes across as cream or beige. It's just, I've tried two different cameras, I've tried viewing them on different monitors. It's just the effect you get. Yet when on the second one, which has a cream roof, it comes across as white. Whether it's something to do with the pigment and the depth of colour in the plastic and the interaction between the camera and the piece, but I've double checked and this is the case. So the photographs are right in relation to the entries. It's just something to do with digital photography. Perhaps somebody with more knowledge can explain it to my rather elderly brain. Having said that, the one we're looking at now is the original Hongwell release with the much more appealing front end with the better headlights and vent panel, etc. etc. These are really nice looking models, even round to the back, everything we would expect. This one does include a tow bar, and then we move on to the second one, which we can see is the Oxford release, and this one has the cream or beige roof. Yeah, it looks white, but anyway, the front end is much simplified, and the base plate has reverted back to Holwell. Yeah, it is branded as Oxford. So these really are more confusing than the first ones we looked at earlier on in the series. But so, is there a mixture of these out there? Quite possible. These could turn up with any combination of base plate when it comes to the branding. It's just a case of having a look and see what turns up, I suppose. We now come to the last one for today, and that is the dark green livery with a white or cream roof. Two versions, as you can see, following lines of the others, early and new. Pretty hard to get hold of these at the moment. I haven't managed to get one of the Oxford ones yet, but as you can see from the original one, it's a very smart looking vehicle, and this one again features a working tow bar, and the base plate is what you would expect with Hongwell on the base, etc. The one that we don't have is, as outlined here, a few question marks because we don't know all the details of it. As I say, quite hard to get hold of. But I nearly got one, but unfortunately I missed out on the auction. So we'll keep looking and one will turn up. The fact that these models don't turn up that frequently, and when they do, they're often packaged with a speedboat and command quite high prices, means I don't have that many in the collection at the moment, having concentrated on the earlier ones that we've been looking at. So until I get a few more, then a pattern will tend to emerge and things might become a little bit clearer. But in the meanwhile, I'm confused, so I hope you're not too confused. And we'll see you again in the next one. So until then, happy collecting.